Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the videos of the paid request. This time for Tim. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in any type of reviews, topics, reactions, commentaries, re-reviews, what have you, tier lists, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for the 1958 Jerry Lewis film, Rockabye Baby. Now, Jerry Lewis is one of those guys that, of course, I knew of, and I really I've seen him more via clips on TV and his telethons and all those stuff. The movie I remember seeing him in was The Night Professor, which I remember not minding. Also, some bits and pieces of him and some of the movies he did with Dean Martin. But I can't really say I'm a connoisseur of Jerry Lewis stuff. I liked a lot of those old comedians back in the day. I enjoyed Red Skelton. I enjoyed the Three Stooges, among other stuff. Uh, I will say, watching this, I can't say I was a big fan of the movie because it's kind of like a precursor to Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton, among other movies. There's a good chunk of musical numbers, which I don't think Jerry Lewis is the best at doing musical numbers. At least that's my opinion on it. Uh, he definitely seems better fit for the more practical, pratfall type of comedy. I think it really, like The Night Professor, because of the type of characters he was playing, it was either the way that the professor himself talked or being the smooth guy. I don't know, in that part the singing didn't bother me as much. Maybe because it's being part of his trying to be smooth Dean Martin type of persona. Here, I got to see a bit more of the other Jerry Lewis with the high pitched type of voice and tempo. That when you hear that throughout a film, at times can be really annoying to sit through. And the gist of the story is that there's this actress who's movie starlet, and she's up for this part as the White Virgin of the Nile. But she's pregnant, and she doesn't know what to do to get her fired from her job. So she decides to have the idea of, well, this is this guy from my hometown, and she can't give it to the father of the kids because he was a bullfighter who passed away. So I have this guy played by Jerry Lewis, who in this movie is a TV repairman, who had a big old crush on her, but she doesn't feel the same way. Well, he'll do anything for me, and I'll give the baby to him. Trying to find out, she gives birth to triplets, and leaves the babies at his doorstep, and he takes care of the babies. Now, meanwhile, that that movie starlet's sister, that her name was Sandy, she loves Jerry Lewis and wants to marry him, but he's not in love with her because he's in love with her sister, the movie starlet, who doesn't give a shit about him at all. In the beginning, when it's showing a bit of his pratfall comedic style, I would say that's the best part of the movie, where he's fixing his antenna, and then this host goes fucking crazy or quasi, and he's trying to grab it, and the way he's fumbling about and trying to jump back and forth to try to get it. You just, if you like physical comedy, you get some humor out of that. Maybe even a bit where the two ladies, their dad is drunk and he's trying to look at the TV, but the TV's broken. Sandy broke the TV, so Jerry Lewis could get there because she's wants to be with him, and Jerry's trying to hide himself, so he pretends to be all these different characters on the TV, whether it be a cowboy or a guy selling cigarettes, or this is how it was back in the day, making big teeth and trying to act Asian with the rickshaw business, and I'm not going to even try to do the impersonation. it's a it does not hold up one single bit in today's age when you see how this guy just pretend to be Asian on TV. It's not like it's supposed to be a guy being a dick and okay, that's part of his character being a dick. It's just no, he's this is supposed to be sincere, heartfelt comedy, and he's pretending to be an Asian guy. It's just like, and he does this twice, by the way. Because there's another bit where he's at a laundromat, and I think he's taking care of other people's kids as well. And oh, your father, and then he starts while cleaning clothes, pretend to be Asian. That shit don't hold up, man. It's like, ouch, shit. It's like what was it, Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's. It just doesn't hold up. And then there's him taking care of the kids. And to be honest, when he's taking care of the kids, the movie really isn't that funny. I mean, I'll give credit where Jerry Lewis, there are quite a few times he calms down and he's talking rather normally. And whether his interactions with Sandy or her dad, which her dad grows to like Jerry Lewis's character more and more because he's seeing how responsible this guy is. The musical interludes, I mean, it's interesting. One of them to have, like, he's singing, and then there's a flashback of when he was talking with this girl he had a crush on, and then there's a shot where him and his younger self are kind of singing back and forth. I believe the younger version of himself is played by his son, Jerry Lewis's son. That's an interesting visual note for a film from the 50s, but I can't say I gave a crap about any of these songs. I really can't. And the stuff with the kids, I mean, I've seen other films do this stuff funnier. I thought 3 Men and a Baby with Tom Selleck was a lot funnier than this. And I guess if I want to watch this kind of film, I would just watch 3 Men and a Baby with Tom Selleck, Steve Guttenberg, Ted Danson. That's more my type of humor. That's more... Even though I do like, crazy Three Stooges and other stuff. Like, Three Stooges did some of that back in the day when they had to take care of a baby. And that stuff I found funnier. Like, there's a bit in this where he finds this, like, glove type of thing with 3 long things he could give the babies, and you hear them suckling on it. Or he gives them a panda toy, and you hear ruffling, and they've ripped it apart. Or he wakes up and his finger's on fire, and he gets it out, then he screams, "Oh!" and the babies cry. But other than that, the movie's kind of not going anywhere for a good chunk other than some of these typical Med gags and Sandy being very apparent of wanting to marry Jerry and Jerry saying, "No, I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it." To the point that Sandy kind of got on my nerves, just calm down, like, he doesn't want to marry you. Like, you're being really forceful about it. Just calm down. So I didn't really like her character. Jerry Lewis at times would get on my nerves when some of the more crazy antics he was doing. The starlet I definitely didn't like because she abandoned 3 of her fucking kids for her own career. And just because she says, "Oh yeah, I should have done that," in 2 lines, doesn't make me change my opinion on her. I also find it weird that when she's in the movie and she's singing, she sounds like Betty Boop, the cartoon. Like, completely not her voice. Unless she was... Well, I mean, I guess Betty Boop's voice wouldn't be really her voice. So, I mean, it sounds like Betty Boop. Like I said, the bit with the hose at the beginning, the fire hose, wasn't too shabby. There's a bit where Jerry Lewis he can't play the guitar, but he's dancing with his feet. And just barely avoiding this chord. Not too bad choreography in terms of that. It did kind of remind me of Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, as if Jerry Lewis any minute going to say, but your kids are going to love it. That whole thing. And pretty much by the end, the judge, because he wants to keep the kids, but he's a single guy, and there's no mother involved, and then Sandy's like, we should get married. He's like, huh? What are you talking about? And then because the Starlight had a change of heart, she says, oh no, we're going to get married. He's like, what? So they call Jerry Lewis a bigamist, and they chase him down until ultimately he's found. And then he does marry Sandy, and then they have 5 babies. And it reacts prim and proper. Like, the bullfighter only had 3, but me and you, we had 5 babies. And then, there you go. So I guess it depends how your thoughts are on Jerry Lewis, how diehard. I'm not a diehard fan of Jerry Lewis. I could take him and leave him compared to other comedians. Obviously, he's trying to do a bit of the Charlie Chaplin, those comics back in the day. Like I said, I was a bit more into Red Skelton, or I was again the Three Stooges and that old guard. And again, with babies, like again, I thought Mr. Mom was a bit more entertaining. I thought 3 Minute Baby is definitely my favorite in that genre, if you want to call it. Like I said, there are times where it's trying to be a bit more dramatic, which I don't really fit with some of the goofy comedy in it. So I don't think that the tone was consistent throughout it. Yeah, I can't say I was a big fan of the movie. Like I say, it has its moments. I can, like some little moments, Jerry Lewis not being too crazy. I can appreciate those moments of seeing a little bit of a speck of different light on Jerry Lewis's acting. Like I said, there's a few moments that made me chuckle. I mentioned those already. Like I said, the songs, like In the Land of La La La, and some of these songs, just don't care. Just didn't care. That's the thing. Jerry Lewis just seemed too much of a pushover. Sandy seemed very pushy. Like, no means no, Sandy. The Starlet was a piece of shit. Some of the Asian stereotypes was a bit weird to hear in today's age, and I'm not a PC brigade guy, far from it, but even I'm like, it's a bit much. And again, other than a few moments, at times I found Jerry Lewis just a bit annoying, and the movie kind of boring. So sadly, I wasn't a fan of Rockabye Baby. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't my cup of tea. It actually made me want to go rewatch 3 Men and the Baby again, to be fair. But if you love it, teach their own. Either way, thanks once again for folks watching. Thanks once again, Kim. And we will see you later. Bye-bye.